We're going to reconvene into open session at 6:09. If you could please stand for the flag salute. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to everybody for being here. We do not have anything to report from closed session. We did not take any votes at closed session. So I'm going to move on to 3.2, New Republic Elementary School.
I have two leadership teams. One, I had so many students apply for student council that I had to give everybody a job. So we have 10 students who are student activities leaders, and I have 18 on the student council, and many of them are here. So they're gonna come in and they're going to introduce themselves and tell you what they like about student council so far, because we really just got started. Face that way.
I love the shoes.
Okay, don't start now. No. You have to face the board. Step back here, step back here. Just get in, okay? Yes.
My name is Sabrina McCree, and I'm an entry for the English class. This year, as a student in student council, I enjoyed helping Mrs. Madrid with the Proud Patriot drawing. My name is Kimberly Guzman, and I'm in Mrs. Panini's class. So far, I enjoyed doing morning announcements, and I look forward to the campus drive. My name is Becky Musa Obas, and I'm in Miss Panini's class. So far, I've enjoyed doing the book fair. I'm looking forward to the campus drive. Hi, my name is Pauline Perez. I'm in Miss Living's fifth grade class. One thing I enjoy about student council is I get to help out with my previous school events. Something I'm looking forward to this year. My name is Jill. I'm in Miss Living's class. One thing I enjoy about the student council is doing the morning announcements. We are going to fair on the savings for fifth class. And we are enjoying doing the student council. This morning, I'm looking forward to the campus drive and also looking forward to helping out with the picture. My name is Portland Fernandez. I am in my sixth grade class and I'm from elementary school. In city council, I enjoy doing morning announcements every Friday. I am looking forward to doing the Patriot Dance at the end of the school year. Hi, my name is Carmina Marafaro. My teacher is Mrs. Rivera. I'm in the fifth grade. I am in the student council. I help in the book fair and in the public day. Hi, my name is Julie Lopez. I am in Miss Lopez's fifth grade class. I go to Newark Public Elementary School. So far, as student council, I enjoy helping with all. I have I enjoy helping at the Fall Festival. I'm looking forward to help with the canned food drive.
My name is Name Middleton and I'm in East Communications class. Something I have enjoyed helping at my school is helping with my fall festival at the school. Something I'm looking forward to is helping at my school Pager Dash.
My name is Skylar Jones. I am in Miss Adrian's 5th grade class. So far, I am enjoying the student council because we get to help in the school book fair and help making booths for the school fall festival. I'm looking forward to doing the canned food drive this year.
I would. So if you guys, can you park for me a little bit? I'll stay. Just, I'd like to be able to see your parents one day. So, we can start with you on the end and go down, and if anybody has family here, I'd love for you to introduce them to us. Well, you can wave at them, just make a wave.
That's my mom, my dad, and my little brother. My mom's over there, and there's my sister. My mom's right there, and that's my little sister. My mom's right there, and I have an older brother. My dad's right there. My mom's right there, and the rest of my siblings.
Are they in the car?
I don't know.
Okay, let me see. I think they walked, they're probably waiting in the car.
Yeah.
But I saw them there.
That's my mom. My mom's over there, and then I have my 2 siblings. That's my mom, my brother, and my brother's girlfriend.
Well, thank you to all the families for bringing them tonight. Thank you, students, for your amazing job. I really appreciate that you're helping not just in your school, but in the wider community. And I'm gonna ask any other board comments or questions?
No, just you guys all did a great job, and it's exciting to see the future leaders of our community.
Mr. Patel?
I just want to say thank you, and thank you. You are very courageous today. You came here before a school board and you made a major presentation on behalf of your elementary school. You should go home and feel very, very proud and confident. You know, true leaders actually do things in life. They don't talk about it, but they go and do things. And that's what I see here today. So thank you very much, and I think you're on your way to major success.
Nice job. Very nice job, boys and girls.
That's Joe right there, that's Super Joe.
But I do want to commend the parents, because the parents are the first teachers of your kids. And without your guidance and without your leadership skills too with your children, you know, it pays off, and you can absolutely see it tonight. So a big applause, not only for the children, but for the parents too.
Thank you to the amazing New Republic family. I love getting to visit over there. And so students and families, as soon as the presentation's done, you guys are welcome to leave and go do homework and dinner and all those other things, or you can stay for the meeting. But I just want to let you know we're going to take a little pause to allow families to leave if you would like to do so. Thank you. One more round of applause.
That was nice.
Have a good night. Thank you for all you're doing right now.
It's live on the website. You see that? It's on the website. So on the phone.
Matt, what did you do, Matt?
Glad you doing that, and now you're
That's good. That's
Yeah, you work for her? You don't do my classes.
Okay, we're gonna pass on with the meeting. 4.0, consider approval of the consent agenda. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve? Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Passes 4-0. So now we're on reports from district organizations, councils, or committees. So, audience, yes.
Okay, well, speaking for SRTA, we've got several of our executive board members here today. First of all, when I went for president, I thought this was going to be a really easy job. Yeah, well, it wasn't. Because, we are doing so much. We're going through all our negotiations to think about sunshine for our negotiations coming up. We are looking at healthcare. That's turned into a huge project. We are, they've gone away. What else are we doing? We are doing a lot. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, so we've got a lot going on. Again, we're really appreciating working with both Tim and Melissa. On Friday, we'll be meeting together to try to clean up that contract language, which has just been driving all of us crazy, and it should help us a lot with negotiations. So, kind of an incoherent report, but there it is, and that's what SRTA is doing.
Thank you. I want to thank Jill and Kate for just being so accessible and spending enough time with me where we can keep a dialogue going and address issues as they come up instead of waiting for the dates and all that. So it's nice. I mean, anytime they want, they can just give me a call. It's just nice that you're bringing that to me. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any CSEA reps here tonight? Okay. And Jill, I had mentioned this to Melissa and to Tim too, but I was the union leader in North County when we did the healthcare changeover. So at any point, if you if you want to talk about what it was, walking through our perspective on it, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Sarah. If I could put your number on speed dial.
Yeah. Well, we're like 5 years out now. It was super positive. It was just a process of going through it.
It's been fun.
Okay, and so 5.2, reports from school principals, directors, department staff, chief business officer. So anybody in the audience? Okay, so Mr. Sandoval, we're gonna go over to you.
Thank you. A lot of exciting things are going on with maintenance, operations, transportation, and facilities. So I did have a couple of handouts. One is a handout that shows locker units. I know that you last month asked me to do some research and stuff. I found that nobody really has a PC of the comparison center at any time. So we took the next option. What would be the most reasonable way of kind of approaching this is taking portable. And we've taken, instead of a 24 by 40 portable, we've taken a 30 by 32. Still 960 square feet, by the way. Only requires one door, one access. However, we kind of did some playing around with the ingress and egress of the way that we structured the benches and the clearances between the benches and the lockers itself. So on that page, you'll see 3 different options. Now, just because we're adding more lockers doesn't mean that we can add more kids inside that room. So depending on how many kids have to dress out at one certain point in time. Right now, we're looking at the maximum kids being in here is 40 to 50 at one point in time. So can we butt up another building right next to it and add more space? Yes, we could. So this is kind of the building block of what we call the women frame building that I was talking to you about as well. So we can actually button them up together, put them right next to each other, remove that center wall, and open it up for a bigger space. This is just a preliminary. This is kind of just looking at what we could do. Roughly, each one of these units is roughly about 160 to 170,000 a piece. And that's kind of not really knowing how far of a distance we are having to run electrical communications here. The next is a synopsis of just what we're looking at doing this winter. Since we were doing the fire alarm upgrade, we were gonna kind of stay dormant, not do very much, just kind of do the work orders and stuff. However, because of the opportunity of doing the fire alarm, we're gonna go ahead and take that and try and do much more than that. So, as you can see, Santa Rita is gonna have portables are out to bid right now. We're looking at possibly opening the bids on December 3rd and bring it to you for approval on December 11th. And then, of course, we'll take a couple months to install those. And we've gotten a lot of interest already, and it barely hit the street on Friday. So, maintenance department has been doing what we call the FIT, or basically a SART, a report card for each site. Because we have that tool, basically we use that same tool for our William sites. We're using it for our non-William sites also, because it's pretty, I would say, thorough with all of the inspections that we need to have a report on. And it gives us a guideline of where the work orders are trying to do. So what we're trying to do now is trying to do work orders proactively instead of reactively. So that's where, we've implemented the FIT or the SART into that. I know that last month I did say we were close to getting our grant for the bus. Unfortunately, MBARD, Monterey Bay Area Resource District, actually asked us to go out and get another bid on the underground, because there's no point in really getting the bus if we can't really hook it up to the electricity. So E-Facilities doesn't lend itself for a close connection to it. So there's some trenching and distribution of electrical current to that location. So right now we're still trying to get some more bids out there. But hopefully beginning of the year, we'll probably have everything together, and 6 to 10 months, they say 6 to 10 months of delivery of the new electrical bus. And that's basically what.
Does the grant also cover the underground electrical energy there, or is it just?
Yes. So basically what we need to do is we need to transfer the bus lane in order to get it over to closest to the property line, which is the easement that we have on the west side.
Any other questions?
I had two. The first one was on the number of lockers and the locker options. I want, when you do the actual bid out or the estimation on the cost, I would love to see the forecast for the increased enrollment rate that we're expecting at the middle school. So I don't want you to look at it in terms of 600 to 700. I want you to look at it close to 1,000 and divide that by the number of periods or how many at one time will be using that facility. I think some of these numbers are low. So I think probably 100, 170, 180 range might be more suitable. But I would love to see that compared to the projection of right around 900 to 1,000. So that way in the future, we already have the built-in capacity, so we don't have to come back here in the future to add more funding. The second issue was, I'm sorry, what was a concern was the actual testing of the batteries in December. I just want to make sure that we get updated on that, because that is a major concern. We're having major power outages in various areas, and our main reason of having this system was to have it up and running. So the sooner we can get a report back on how far we are, I would love to see maybe a video, however they're doing the transfer of power when the system goes down. I'd love to get a lot more information on that, to make sure that we're getting that support that we were promised originally in terms of having electricity 24/7.
So, in regards to that, Tim and I, kind of went through the motions of what are we supposed to be doing? And we're finding out that the transfer, it's not an automatic transfer switch, it's basically a manual transfer. Basically meaning staff has to come in and do a transfer from the grid over to the battery system. So, the schedule actually shows, they're gonna go through the systems first, make sure that they're working, and then we're gonna be training on the Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping to see, was the fact that, you have a set process, when power goes out, there's somebody on site that is trained, and there's a second person on site that is trained, and they can carry that transfer out in 20 to 30 minutes, and it shouldn't be a long-term transfer. But it should be a procedure set in place where multiple people know how to follow it and can get to that.
Definitely, yeah, and that's one thing we want to narrow down, and get exactly the right procedure for each individual site, solely because each individual site is not the same. And that's what I've been finding out, so.
We each have anything as far as the process to, I see.
Yeah, because not every site has the same amount of wattage, so it depends on the wattage that's actually generated to the batteries. The transfer over to that, so can we run everything, like all of the freezers, the refrigerators? Yes. Can we run all of the lights? Possibly. Now the question is, can we run all the increased heat heaters and stuff like that? So that's what we're working on.
Thank you for getting on top of that, and, I just want to make sure that it's in place, it's systemized, it's automatic, there shouldn't be any delay in the transfer process.
We'll find out. I don't want to say yes.
These things can be done.
There's a very big doubt there. I'm sorry.
Any other questions? And I just wanted to clarify what Mr. Vitale was talking about earlier. We've been brainstorming different enrollment scenarios based on the new development and how we're gonna configure the kits or not. So I think it's really wise what you were saying in terms of if at some point we need to extend the capacity at our middle school to build for that when we're putting new locker rooms in, and not just build for 650 kids if that's not what we're gonna have, 5 or 6 years from now. Although at this point we have no way of knowing. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Helm.
Yeah, so just a couple things. Just wanted to really quickly touch on the alternative income forms. We're all done. October 31st is the deadline. We're all collected with the exception of about 170, which is really good. Previous year, we were anywhere from 400 to 500. So, a lot of thanks to the site staff, secretaries, and teachers for getting on it. Thanksgiving's ready to go. We got everything ordered. I ordered the pies today. So we're ready to go there.
You got anything coming up that we're good?
Yeah, we added peach this year. We're going to a local bakery instead of out of town. Main Street Bakery on South. Yeah, ready to go. Looking forward to it. We'll do interviews tomorrow for an open position in the central kitchen. We flew it internally, so we got a couple of good internal candidates. So looking forward to getting that filled. And this afternoon, I don't know how many calls were received by the district office. Juanita said not very many. We had a couple. We inadvertently sent out an eligibility notification to parents. So we had people calling and saying, how come I'm paid for this tomorrow? It was a mistake. It was just an error on our part. It's been corrected. We got with our Titan School Solutions, and we sent out another letter saying please disregard.
Can you clarify that?
Yes.
The number of notices ever had?
Pretty much all the students probably. Well, 2015 were set to me to be printed and sent out, and obviously didn't do that. The rest were emailed. So
they were told, people were notified that they weren't eligible, and that
it was a combination. So
okay.
Those applications that we processed and they were denied because of income, parents received those saying you're no longer on free status, you're now paid status. If you went from free to reduced, same thing. If you're directly certified, they got a notification saying, don't worry about it, you're directly certified. So we send out another release saying, our policy has changed, everything needs to be free. There's no change to our policy.
And it was only for email.
Yeah, so we didn't print media. So I thought that Type School Solutions print them and send them out, but they said, it's up to you guys. You guys send them out, it's up to you. So that's good.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Ms. Maria?
I don't have any reports. I do have some comments and updates that I would like to share. So first of all, I want to share the good news that we are finally done with the clusters audit for the retirees only. So I'm very, very happy with that because I know that it's a big project to finalize in a long time. But it's not completely done. We still have to go through the active employees who worked during those years that got also our findings. So I'm just happy that we are at least are done with the retirees. We don't have to worry about that. By the end of this month, MCOE is going to do the final procedures and send that file to clusters. And then cluster is going to be sending those letters to the retirees. So I'm very, very happy with that. As you know, I've been here for almost 7 months, and I want to thank management and everyone. They have been very supportive and very helpful with everything that I need. I still feel like since the beginning, we've been kind of like short-staffed. As you know, we're at the work analyst lab, and then we have an opening, and now we are on the final stages for hiring. But just with the extra assignments that my staff had been taking on to do all those extra duties, and on top of that, doing the clusters, it's been a lot of work, and everyone is being very helpful and supportive. So I'm very, very, very happy with that. The next big report is the first intro. That's when I'm going to be presenting the last updates in regards to enrollment, GPA, and revenue. That's coming up on December 11th. So just
I have one more. What are we doing to update our retirees regarding the situation with the officers? I mean, are we updating them?
Yes.
What,
We got a letter ready to go as soon as we get a formal date, and on the final approval. We'll be sending them that. We've been in contact. I've had a luncheon with them. I've sent out 2 letters prior, and so and then take phone calls on a regular basis from a few of the retirees. So, we're going to get that information out to them as soon as we know the final date. Hopefully, it'll be before we go on Thanksgiving. We'll have a firm date that we know what it's going to be.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for the county approval, and I'm hoping that's going to be before November 25th. So hopefully by this week or next week, we can get the final approval. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
we just gotta take care of our own, we owe them a debt, so we took care of it and fix it. Sooner the better, the more updates we get, the better. I think
Is that pretty, do we end in a positive note on all those retirees?
Well, once so the way it'll work is she'll submit the final paperwork to MCOE, and then they'll forward it along to CalSTRS. CalSTRS will then send a final letter that tells them, here's the final, on this.
Outcome.
Here's what your adjustments are going to be in your defined benefit, and here's what your arrears is. They'll bring that to us.
And then we'll
We've done it. I think we've done 3 of those.
we'll make it right.
Yeah, they'll bring the letter, and then we do a waiver where they just look and they agree to pay that amount plus taxes, and then we do a final.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very, very much, because I was really worried about since the beginning, when we first started to find out about our retirees, I was just so devastated by the whole.
But I think this district handled it better than all other districts because we were proactive, we respected the retirees, we told them about the process, and, and we've been making it right, so.
Great.
And just so that everyone knows, the last meeting of the City County, they said that in the last 5 years, 12 districts out of the 24 districts in Monterey County had similar cluster findings. So we're not the only districts that are dealing with this. Some districts have taken them years, I mean, 3 or 4, they're probably still working on it. So I'm just glad that we're getting to the final stages, and for sure we'll be done this year.
It's not gonna.
That long. It's been one of my priorities.
Thank you for staying on top of it.
And also, just letting everyone know how we get funded is also being one of my priorities. ADA is so important, and the government drives revenues. So just taking the time to let the secretaries know that it's important to get those forms for free and reduced, because that's an effect of funding. Even providing information about numbers, how much in revenue we're losing. It's just been so helpful for everyone to be alert, and that everyone knows how important this is for funding. That's the procedures and everything I've been working on the business side, and how to do things better. And that's been also one of my priorities.
Good. Thank you so much,
No,
Rosa.
thank you very much.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
You did a phenomenal job on those forms, but I tell you that those forms every year is tough to get, you know, and to get, when that feel that, I think it's a good accomplishment.
Any other questions or comments?
We had our family resource fair on November 2nd, and it was really successful. We had great turnout from community agencies. I mean, people were going home with bags of groceries. Chuck reached out and invited, is it Central Coast Produce?
Central Coast, yeah.
And they were giving out fruits and vegetables by the bagful. It was pretty impressive what our community agencies lent to our resource fair. It really speaks to the capacity that we could be building when we develop our family resource center at San Luis. And those relationships and connections that we can have our families make with those kinds of agencies regularly. And we could not have pulled it off without Victor and Chuck's staff, who were there before and after to get everything set up. And it was a tremendous group effort. And I have to really thank their 2 departments for just showing up in force and helping all day with everything. Our principals are currently working on their annual school accountability report cards. We're going to use the same publishing company that we did last year, which presented the colorful, well-bound version of the SART. We had a lot of positive feedback from that. Parents felt like it was really easy to understand. It was nice. It gave them a picture of what each school was like, because they included photos and things like that, and anecdotal things, as well as the data that's driven by the state dashboards and all of those things. So those will be coming back to you either December 11th or our first meeting in January, based on when those get published, so that you can see them and those for us.
Report of the board on activities and meetings attended. So, Mr. Sable?
So I did attend also the Family Resource Center, so I was going to say thank you to everybody. It was a good first day. I think it's the first one to do it well. Ever. So it was a good turnout. There was a lot of good agencies that were there. The only thing I did kind of want to mention is, as far as a lot of the people who attended are mostly Spanish speaking, and I think a lot of the translation, especially when the DJ was kind of speaking up there, just maybe next year do more of an emphasis on making sure. Because I did walk around some of the people that were eating food, and they were a little bit confused as far as kind of what was going on. I was kind of talking in Spanish, hey, what was going on and stuff. And then I was talking to him a little bit as far as maybe in the years to follow, tracking who's coming to our resource fair. So maybe as people are walking in, it's like what school you come to, what neighborhood. So that way in the future we can better figure out what schools need more outreach compared to other schools and stuff. But besides that, I mean, it was great to see all the activities that were there. You know, I talked to some parents, and they were pretty happy about the food bags they were getting, and the farm and painting the zoo and the jumper and stuff. So it was a lot of fun.
Mr. President?
I just really have a love affair, if you will, with Newry Public School. You know, both my kids went through there, and when I see these kids performing, it just brings back great memories, you know. But the one thing I did want to bring up was, you know, I worked with this great group called Junior Achievement. You know, this is a combination of great business leaders donating a lot of money, and then we have this great group who spends the money on educating students in various school districts about proper money management, personal finance, and it really helps our socioeconomic population who doesn't have that access to that information, you know, and for our students to benefit from that. I think it'll be a great service, like I said, to our community. So for me, I wanted to present this to the board, and hopefully we can form a partnership with this group and providing great, excellent curriculum. And as far as maybe even considering a summer academy, I think this is one of those unique programs that could benefit our unique district. You know, it's I think something that will be very advantageous, not only for our students today, but as they move on to high school, they'll have this information with them, and they can also educate their family members as well. So, you know, I think it's a great program that we should look into, and I'd love to see and request if you could put this on the agenda for our next board meeting.
Yeah, I can reach out to, I think I got the email, the contact, Taryn.
Yeah.
And have them come and do a presentation in December.
Yeah, my understanding is, I think North Monterey County has adopted it.
Yeah, I know Taryn, and
Yeah,
they
she-
do great things.
Okay.
So thank you,
Yeah.
President. I really appreciate your support.
I don't have anything to report out. I was not here all of October, so I know it was, but no.
I do not have anything to report for this evening, so we're gonna move on to 5.4, superintendent's report.
Just a couple of things. I got an email from Diane Galen where she requested, she couldn't be here tonight because she's at the California Music Educators Association. So I'm just going to read an email from November 13th. It said, last night I finished submitting recordings for the middle school honor band auditions, and I thought you might like to know any results that I have thus far. So this is for honor choir and honor band. Honor choir, students who tried out: Gerardo Lopez, 6th grade; Marcos Sanchez, 7th grade; Maya Marley, 7th grade. Students who made it: Max Magana, 7th grade; Kiana Rodriguez, 8th grade; Trinity Becerra, 8th grade; and Ariana Diaz, 8th grade. And that's the 3rd year in a row that she's made it to honor choir. Honor choir concert is Saturday, January 25th at 2 p.m. at the Santa Cruz Civic Center. Honor band: Daniel Becerra, 8th grade flute; Kenneth Shane Rivera, 8th grade clarinet; Alejandro Rosales Rivera, 7th grade trumpet; Gilberto Cervantes Soto, 8th grade trumpet; Max Corona, 8th grade French horn; Nazai Garcia, 8th grade percussion; and Isao Ochoa Avalos, 7th grade percussion. Results for honor band students will be known by November 21st. The honor band concert will be held Saturday, January 18th at Hartnell College at 2 p.m. Thank you for all your support. And if you know any of these students, please wish them congratulations or good luck. Diane. And then the other thing I have is Elizabeth Contreras is here from Girls Inc. And she's going to give a brief presentation, and she'd like to make, to talk to the board. So I'm going to let her take up the rest of my time.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Contreras, and I'm the Deputy Director of Programs at Girls Inc. I do have just a brief little presentation. We really wanted to come and I'll show that first. This is the group that participated in the summer camp this past summer. So I wanted to just give you a little brief presentation on what we did, what our program entails, and who we are. This is the second time we've partnered with the Santa Rita School District, and so we're really grateful for the opportunity to get to work with all of these girls. They were all amazing, and so I just wanted to come and share some of the information with you, and of course, answer any questions that you might have about anything that we've done at the camp. Girls Inc., if you don't know who we are, Girls Inc. of the Central Coast is an affiliate of Girls Inc. National, which has been around since 1864. They've been providing programs for girls. And here in the Central Coast, we're one of the affiliates of Girls Inc. National. We work in the Tri-County area, so Monterey County, San Bernardino County, Santa Cruz counties. And we work with over 41 school sites throughout the year and over 1,700 girls. And that includes these girls that we work with over the summer. Our mission is to inspire girls to be strong, smart, and bold, to respect themselves and the world around them. And we do that through a variety of different programs that we offer throughout the years. And serve girls from ages 8 to 18 years old. So every program is very different, every program has its purpose, and depending on the age group, that's what we talk about. We have different topics. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is this camp, and this camp has been around for about 5 years now. It's the second time again we've partnered up with the Santa Rita Union School District, and we're really grateful for that opportunity. The camp is intended for girls ages 8 to 11 years old. It's a 2-week camp, and the girls really have fun, hands-on activities. One of the things that this program really focuses on is STEM, and one of the things that we really wanted to encourage the girls is to really find something that they were passionate about, whether it was through STEM, whether it was a different career. We really wanted the girls to test their limits. And one of the things that we did is we did a lot of experiments and things that the girls really enjoyed throughout the 2 weeks that they were there. So through the camp, our camp was held July 1st through the 12th at McKinnon School, which has been the second time that we've held it at McKinnon School. And I will tell you, custodial staff has been amazing. Every year that we're there, they've been super supportive and just really, we're really grateful for the opportunity to work with them because they're always really open to anything that we need and always willing to help. And this year we served the most girls we've served at this camp, which is 111 girls. This year through the district, we did serve 73 girls. All of the girls that participated in the program came from around Salinas, and some of the even outskirts areas of Salinas and Encino and Prudendale. We had a girl from Gonzales, but these are parents that really want their daughters to get involved. This year, specifically through Santa Rita, one of the things that we've gotten a lot of support from is the scholarship-based program that the girls are able to apply for. So the program is a $200 cost. That includes field trips, materials, everything that we do with the girls. The district has provided scholarships for these girls that attend the Santa Rita Union School District. They've offered a $100 scholarship. So if the program is $200, the district pays half, the parent pays half. And I think that was one thing parents are always really excited to hear because first of all, childcare is really expensive. And the other thing is you're getting, $100 off of the program and the kids are coming in learning something and then they're also participating in field trips. So the girls are really excited about that part. So we had 73 girls that received scholarships through the program, and 73 of those girls, of course, came from the district. And the other thing that the district provided, that I really want to say thank you, I know we worked with Ms. Ryan and Ms. Hollerman, and if the girls participated in the program and they attended and had perfect attendance, stayed throughout the entire day, they also received a $100 gift card to Target. And so that was a bigger addition to what we were already offering. So I can tell you that the parents and the girls were really excited when we found that out because we didn't tell them that at the beginning, we told them that towards the end of the program. And so it was nice because 61 of those 73 girls received the gift cards, which meant that they were there every single day, all day long. So that was really amazing. So one of the things that I wanted to just focus on is the topics that we did cover throughout the program. We did touch a lot on STEM activities, STEM-related careers. We talked and did a lot of experiments with the girls. We had an experiment where they,
I'm sure you've heard of this, but they did an egg drop challenge where each girl really got to participate in a group setting. They got to create and design their own little model, and they got to test it out. And so they got on the ladder, dropped their little eggs, and whoever survived, they got a prize. And of course, it was more of a challenge and working in a team. It was really, really amazing. The girls also participated and did things like a greenhouse water bottle where they could grow their own greens and saw how rapidly they grew in this greenhouse. And so they were encouraged to really think about the environment. They got to create a superhero that did something for the environment, and they were really creative, I can tell you. And then the other thing we did talk about is constellations and phases of the moon. A lot of those different things that they don't get to really talk about, and they got to play with Oreo cookies, and they got to build constellations with marshmallows and toothpicks, and it was really nice to be able to see their creativity and to bring life to their constellations because they were also given the chance to give it a name and to give it a story. And so they were able to do that throughout the weeks that they were there. The other thing that we also talked about in the program was career exploration. They got to get exposed to 90 different careers. And they actually had to sort them out by most interested in, least interested in, and possibly interested in. And so they were able to read up on those, find out what kind of college they needed, what kind of degree they needed, what kind of as far as how much you get paid for that career. It was really nice to be able to see them really take a look at that. So we did career exploration, we did college, we talked about degrees, what a degree can get you. And so it was really nice to get them to really start thinking about it. These are 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 9, all the way to 11 years old. So you can imagine how much of a sort of a light bulb that turned on when it came to that. We did talk about goal setting. We did have somebody come in and talk about nutrition. We had somebody that really focused on healthy, nutritious eating, snacks, what they can build at home. And it was just really nice to be able to see the difference between eating a bag of hot Cheetos or really choosing something that's healthy for them. We talked about health, physical fitness. Bullying was another big one that we talked about. We had discussions about peer pressure and just other activities that really help them build their skills. And that was something that the girls really loved. The other thing that we did is we touched a lot on physical activity. So we did yoga, self-defense, hula dancing, and here's a couple other pictures. We had a soccer clinic where the girls got to participate a couple of days during the 2 weeks. We also went to Toro Park and did a hike. They also had a soccer clinic that day. And we had 2 field trips. One to the movies where I think they got to see, oh gosh, I didn't go to that one, but the girls were really excited. For the movie, they got to see The Lion King. And they also went to the aquatic center where they spent the whole day just kind of relaxing in the sun. It was one of our last days. So they were really excited about that. So these are some of the other activities we included during the 2 weeks that they were there. And then the other thing that I wanted to share is these are just some of the outcomes. We do a pre and a post survey and have evaluations throughout the time that the girls are at camp. So these are just some of those results. I don't know if I sent over the report, which I will do, just to make sure you have everything else that we had on the pre and post survey, so you can see everything else that came out of that. But these are just some of the really ones that stood out to us that we really wanted to share with you. And all having to do with, the enthusiasm for STEM, for careers, goal setting, just being more confident in themselves, being able to stand up for themselves. That's one thing the girls always come in. They don't know a whole lot of girls in the program. Some of them come from different schools, so it's hard to start creating those relationships. So it was really nice that they were comfortable enough that they were able to build those relationships with those girls once they got into the program itself. So these are for you, and I'll send over again the report with all of the full stats that we got from the girls in the program. And then the last thing, so I'll also share this in the report, but this is one of the girls that her name is Ava. She's in the program, and this is just one thing that she shared. So I loved everything about Girls Inc. because it taught me to be strong, smart, and bold. Outside of Girls Inc., I often had a hard time making friends. During the camp, everyone was kind and supportive to me. I was encouraged to participate in the talent show where I sang This is me from The Greatest Showman. During lunch when we practice the talent show, everyone would clap and cheer me on. I identified with the song because it is about a girl who was broken and no one liked. They would tell her that no one would like her as she was, but she showed herself to the world and realized she was worthy, and then everyone fell in love with her. I wanted to dedicate this song to all of the girls at the camp because they are all strong, smart, and bold. I love Girls Inc. This is a place away from. So it was just something we wanted to share with you, a little quote from the girls. And again, we have these evaluations that the girls write and all these different stories. This is one that really stood out, just because she was super sweet. She was 8 years old, and I mean, she just was a little careful. So, and this is just one of the quotes from the parents. We often get emails, and we often get emails and just things from the parents that they see sort of changes in their girls after camp, after any programs that they do. So we love to get notes from the parents. We also have a parent survey. So on the report, you'll also see some of those things that the parents really enjoyed and they really saw from their girls. And this is just one of those. And this is an email that was sent from one of the parents to our coordinator of that program, who was there throughout the week. She couldn't be here tonight. She has a parent meeting, and so I'm here. So this is just from the parents. And I mean, if you have any questions, I have one final thing that I didn't want to give and bring to you. But if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer questions. Questions?
It just sounds like a really awesome program, so thank you for doing it in the district.
I just think Girls Inc. is a phenomenal program. I've worked with them through the high school that Alza High gets. But what I really love about this program is you're addressing the needs at a much earlier age. And I think 8 to 11 is the perfect age to inspire the girls, get them into STEM, get them into the career, getting their confidence. But what I really liked about the program, it was multifaceted. You know, you were addressing various needs, you know, confidence building, you were working with their health. I saw the nutrition component. I taught how to deal with stress, you know, how to build confidence. So it was phenomenal. My only question is, and to you at the team, how do we grow it even more? You know, I just really
$200 gift certificate.
You know, I can tell you that the $100 really is what the parents buy it. When you tell them $200, it's so hard for them to say, okay, I'm gonna give you the $200 so my daughter can participate. But the fact that the district offers the $100, that's just amazing. Some of the parents find out that don't go to the district. And right away they ask, well, why can't we? And so, you know, we have to explain that to them. They're fine. But again, I mean, we had 73 girls from just Santa Rita that participated in this. Of course, we would love to. I mean, we come out, we do presentations to all the schools. You know, we do outreach also where we call the parents and we let them know. So if the girls sign in, we call the parents, follow up with them. But if there's anything else that you'd like us to do as far as reaching out, we would love to grow that number. We would like to serve more girls.
One thing I can think of that might be is getting it into a neighborhood where students can walk to the school, because it requires 100% transportation. It's a great campus, but I think if we looked at, you know, La Jolla or Republic or Santa Rita, we can get those.
I would love to see that Santa Rita our groups. I mean, if we could focus on that side.
Yeah. It may be something we look at rotating. You know, each year, each site gets a chance, and that way every girl in the district from all over could walk and do that.
So my expectation is this year you're gonna present that offer up front.
We just offered it to her and she handled it.
And this is something that, you know, depending on what you can do, what the support is from the district, I mean, we would love to continue to offer it to the girls. We would love to even, you know, we get the feedback from the girls and we change it based on their needs and what they're asking for. So we're so open to changing this up, whatever you see, you know, really working with the girls. If there's needs, if there's anything that you see, we're totally open to that. But yeah, whatever, you know, support the district can provide, I can tell you that it really helps our parents. And the parents are calling us trying to find out and figure out how they can get their daughters involved. And we get their calls really early too. Once it hits January, February, they know it's coming. Mm-hmm. So usually they'll call and say, hey, what's going on with that summer camp? I really want my daughter to participate again. And we're starting to see girls that were 8 years old, 9 years old, now 10 years old coming in.
And we try to do something a little different for each age group. So we divide them into 9 and 8-year-old groups and then 10 and 11-year-old. So we have a curriculum for one group, a curriculum for another group, and then we change it up every year to change it, just in case we get return girls.
I have another question. When you said you do presentations at the school sites, where do you do the presentations at?
So at each of the school sites within the district. So,
Okay, what type of things do you do?
so we invite all the 3rd, 4th, 5th, I think we do 6th, I'm not sure if they're in that age group, but we'll invite them to come up to an assembly. We'll take about 20 minutes. Usually we connect with the principals after we get the approval, and they'll give us a date, a time frame, and then we come out and pass out the flyers with the information. They go home, and then right away we start getting phone calls from the parents. If a parent is interested, just because the packet is a little thicker, we only do the flyers. But if a parent calls, we send them, email them, or they come to our office and fill out the application for them. But we do all school sites in the district.
Well, the only other thing that I can suggest, especially if we were talking about doing the $100, like afterwards for perfect attendance, we could redistribute the money and do like $150 scholarship, and then potentially like the $50 for perfect attendance, just in terms of lowering the cost to the parents. So $50 out of your pocket is close to $100.
We would get even more phone calls every day.
That was my plan.
Yeah, so that's, every little bit helps, and, we try to lower the cost every year too, as much as we can, but just with the cost of the program, with staff, all of that, it just takes a lot to run a program, especially with this many girls, and we want to make sure we have supervision to accommodate each of the girls.
Any other questions?
Phenomenal.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
And I just want to give you one last thing. So I'll leave this bag, and this bag has from those girls that did receive those scholarships, and I think we did this last year also. We had the girls write a little thank you to the board, and just for their support. So in here you're gonna find all of our thank you cards from the girls, the 73 girls. And then the other thing that we also wanted to bring by, and I think we also came with one last year, is just a little thank you, just with the picture of all of the girls that participated in the program, 111 of them. So thank you so much. We really appreciate the support and just your time and just everything that you do to make sure that this program is accessible to the girls. We really appreciate it. It makes our work easier. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hard to see.
Okay,
so let's go on to 5.5, receive hearings of individuals desiring to address the board on items that are not on an agenda. Is there anyone here want to speak on a non-agenda item?
Once again, Madam President, I think we should form a line.
Well, they're particularly rowdy crowd.
I can come up with something if you want.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah. Thank you. So we're gonna go on to 6.1, approve annual renewal of super co-op agreement for school year 2021. Mr. Hall?
Yeah, it's just a renewal for the services that we get from Super Co-op. They manage our commodities. We did a really good job last year using almost all of our entitlement. Previous years we didn't hardly use anything at all. So when we continue working with them, it's very little cost as far as the membership fee, about $550 or so based on our entitlement. And any other fees are just from how much food we actually order.
Any questions?
Just a great comment. I just want to thank Chuck. The level of non-complaints I'm getting this year compared to previous years regarding food, quality, availability, demand, I think is phenomenal. So I think our direction in going to super co-op and doing our own purchasing is going to be very successful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I appreciated what you put in the write-up too about being able to use sort of less packaging of other stuff because of, what we were able to buy, so I appreciate it. Could I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. 7.1, approve the provisional internship permit for employee number 160349.
So, ongoing efforts on Becky Moore, our new HR director's, her pursuit of clearing up 30-day substitute credentials for putting people on a proper internship permit. So it's just, these are gonna be coming in over the next few months while she gets that done. It's the first of many.
Any questions?
I just want to thank Becky and Tim for putting the issue up here, but the teacher shortage is coming, and we just need to make sure that we're as flexible as possible, but yet meeting the state.
That's it. She's doing a phenomenal job. She's really digging in. We have several credentials that need to be cleared up, and she's on her way. So.
Thank you, and I appreciate all her work. If we could just make sure that all our employees know what they need to do to be able to renew these for next year.
They will.
Well, it's amazing what people do.
Yeah.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Did you get the PowerPoint, or you just have that?
Both.
Both. Overachiever.
Yeah.
Good, it's time for about SBAC.
So 8.1, Assistant Superintendent will be presenting to the board information on 2019 SBAC results and local STAR 360 benchmark data. Ooh, handouts for the audience.
Yes, everybody gets a handout. We're doing a combination of high tech and low tech. You'll notice that there is one long sheet, which, as you know from past experience, is difficult to get our STAR 360 data on anything other than a long sheet of paper. And so to stick with that tradition, I did change up our direction, I did our color coding for us, and there's not a PowerPoint of this. And so I'll make sure that we have access to a version of this for our website if anyone's viewing the board meeting and it's still looking at STAR 360 data. So this is to give you an update of our fall STAR 360 scores. And I won't go through each one meticulously, but to give sort of a brief overview, our STAR 360 is our current benchmark assessment we've been using. This is year 5. And grades K and 1 traditionally take the early literacy assessment, and then grades 2 and up take a reading assessment and a math assessment. And they take this 4 times a year. And this is our benchmark to let us know how our students are coming in. And as you can see next to the colors, the green, blue, yellow, and red, our 4 categories are at or above grade level, or students are on watch, and then students who are slated for intervention, and then red are those needing urgent intervention. So just to give a little background, traditionally what we've done for our intervention programs at our 4 elementary schools and our 2 middle schools are identifying and serving those students who score within the red for intervention first, and then fleshing out to serve those in the yellow. And so that is the same format, different kind of programming for elementary versus middle schools. Middle school has class periods. They have an intervention period that they go to for that, for reading. This year is our first year really making a bigger push into getting some math intervention as well for those students who are scoring in the red. And so this is our initial data. And so those students who are grouped into intervention, we do a lot of push-in at the elementary level with the TOSA's training and guiding paraprofessionals to go in and deliver those skills-based lessons to get those students where they need to be scoring closer to at or above grade level. And so this shows you all 6 schools. I do want to point out though, for McKinnon's first grade, they opted to give the reading assessment. So I indicated that in italics, just so that you would know. And that way you can kind of compare how the students were doing at the beginning of the school year. These scores are very similar to how they've been coming in for our first window. And just to let you know, our ongoing conversation with Curriculum Council, and we have teachers piloting at different schools, a possible alternative benchmark assessment and program with iReady for reading and math. And we just had a training today. The TOSAs attended a training because those who are piloting are either complete or in the midst of administering the diagnostic to their students. And so the first round of data is starting to become available. As we continue to explore that, we'll come in and do a presentation for you so that we can do a side-by-side comparison of what that benchmark data looks like compared to this benchmark data. And so as we work that through our pilot teachers, our principals, and Curriculum Council, we'll keep you informed if we're headed towards changing our benchmark assessment and letting you see what the results and where the needs are.
Are there any questions or comments about the Start Group 16?
All right, so now we'll move on to the semi-tech because I give it to you in paper, but you actually might be able to see these first couple slides a little bit better on the TV. I tried doing this really nice where there were 2 slides on one page, but I couldn't see that. So everyone gets it where it's 1 slide per page. This really, I would apologize for this delay in getting you this information, but it was not me, it was a mistake. And so as soon as these weren't embargoed anymore, I was able to do the comparative data between our district, the state, and the county. And just so you can kind of see how that's shaping up, and in looking at the numbers down at the bottom, I'm riding the struggle bus on seeing this here. And so how we're doing for our 18-19. In a couple slides, I'll give you where it'll show you our growth change between last year and this. And so this is our English language arts literacy, and this is overall district picture compared to how we did with the state of California and Monterey County. And I'll actually share the websites with you so that if you are intrigued and want to do a deeper data dive. So
I did do
this
that
is-
after you sent the link, so thank you.
And she said that. I must have
Yeah,
And this is kind of, it's new to me, and I thought it was a nice look at like a placemat of data for the schools against the state. So this is our mathematics, and as you know, this is an area of focus for all 6 schools this year. And making inroads into what kind of positive and impactful changes we can make in the classroom. Our teachers have been working really hard on coming up with new and innovative techniques to remediate those skills and accelerate where students can, and how to revisit and maybe restructure how they're teaching their math materials so that it might be more effective. As opposed to following a suggested pacing guide, being able to work with their grade level team, make better informed instructional decisions as the experts in the classroom, making decisions about maybe this module should go before this one, and feeling a little freer to make those sorts of day-to-day adjustments. I just got a nod, I'm like, yes, that's true. And so, all right, I probably shouldn't involve the audience, right? But, okay. It's been a long day. This is the set of data that I said it's a new kind of look for me, and I'll take you to this website. And it shows you our percentage change from last year to this year. And so I thought this was a nice sort of holistic view, and so how we did as a district, and each of our school sites and how they changed from 2018 to 2019. Now, on this website, and I'll have the links at the end of the PowerPoint, and after this meeting, I'll make sure, or tomorrow morning, to post the PowerPoint online so that people can also link to these. You can click on the individual schools and get the following kind of drill down data that I'll show you. So this is where like our Bolsa Knowles data, so it shows you each school site when you click. And then you'll see at the top, I just did slides for each school. And so you can see how each grade level did for their standard not met, nearly met, met, and then exceeded.
Can you go back a slide?
I can.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is where I wanted clarification if I'm correct or not. My understanding of the top number when they deal with the district as a whole is that they sort of imagine it as if everybody was one school. Like in other words,
Yes.
okay.
All the test takers.
I just
are
wanted to
together.
clarify, yes. And
Yes.
it doesn't matter if it's a bigger or smaller school, but it's a student by student.
Yes.
Thank you.
So for us, it's grades 3 through 8. All the
Yeah.
students who took the assessment, they group it as if that's one school, so you know as a district how you group.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And as we go, if there's any other clarifying comments or questions, please just stop me because y'all know I can talk. And so you have your slides for each school sites. And what I did, because originally I was going to present this at the last board meeting, I shared this data with our site principals as well. And I know a lot of them have actually shared out their site data with their staff and have kind of taken them on a bit of a data tour with this information as well.
You know, I know we have the Common Core. I know we're pursuing a different methodology and how the freedom we're giving teachers, but I'm seeing a little stagnation in the growth, but I do think we need to give the teachers and the staff another year or two before we can evaluate whether what we've been doing is working or not. But I am glad to see there is some small growth there, so maybe the tide is changing, so, but I do have a little bit of concern. But like I said, you know what, I think we do need to give it a year or two to see how well everything's implemented to further down.
My biggest concern is math. We really only went up 1 point something percent for math between last year, or between 2018 and 2019. And we went up over 3% for ELA between 2018 and 2019, right? And so, and our growth traditionally has been in ELA, and math has been incremental each year, 1 to 2 percentage points each year. So Santa Rita Elementary School, and what you can see is whenever you look for, and this is for our audience as well, whenever the state is looking for how a school is doing, you add your standards met and your standards exceeded columns together, because those are basically the students who are at and above grade level. So New Republic Elementary School, and as you can see, New Republic's 5th grade for ELA broke the 60% mark for at or exceeded, which we're very proud of. And then La Jolla Elementary had some tremendous growth in their 3rd and their 4th grades. So when you look at each school site's data, there are grade levels and areas that are making such profound growth that we're reaching out to those teachers, pairing them up to get them having discussions with their fellow teachers. I know today, and I was so happy to hear it, that apparently our 5th grade teachers decided they needed to PLC together, which I was really hopeful for after we did the time on the PD day for each grade level to convene and meet together. I think the most profound growth that we'll see are when teachers are able to come together as educational experts and discuss their practice and what kind of things they want to implement. and positive changes they want to make for their individual students like that. So I was super psyched to hear that fifth grade had done that. So, and then McKinnon Elementary School. And so McKinnon's third grade broke our 40% there. And in our ELA, we've got some amazing things going on. And the growth that we've made over the last 4 years, I think I'm going to bet on teachers, and I'm going to bet on the work that they're doing with our kids this year, and their ability to make changes and to make educated and purposeful changes that are going to be impactful for our students. And I think we'll start seeing that in the data, like you said, Mr. Patel. It may take a year, it may take 2, but I think it's really it's gonna be huge.
I think, I'm liking what I'm hearing, having teachers work together, PLC, cross-observation, learning best practices, sharing of ledger and assessments, and common assessments everywhere. So, once again, I think it's gonna be a journey of maybe 2-3 years, so I'm glad we have some growth now, but I'd like to see, that really great information.
Our teachers are really invested in our students, and I think that's probably our biggest strength here in our district.
I agree. I totally agree.
All right, so our 2 websites, and I'll make sure that I post this on our district website so that people have easy access to this. So this one right here is the traditional, let's see, there we go, okay. And so you can go in, and this is our CASP, LPAC sort of test result, and you can check any district in the state, and you can make comparisons. I'm not gonna try to bore you with the details, but I'm gonna tell you this is a website and you can't mess it up, and you can find all the information you could possibly want to compare. And so if you want to search and compare results, you can click here, and it actually lets you pick a year. You can pick your county, your district, your school, add them to the comparison, keep adding, and build you a little comparison chart for yourself. So if there's a district that's near and dear to your heart, but they're way down south and you want to know how we compared against them, here's your place to set them up and see how they went toe to toe, right?
And I did spend a long time looking at this and playing with it, and it's awesome. The only thing is that it doesn't put your exceeds and meets together. Those are in separate columns, so you have to, if you're like me, you have to then print and add it together to get your information the way that you want it.
That's true. That's true. And then this one is the one that had that more of a placemat set of data. And it also allows you to see any school in the state of California, any district. So you'll notice it just starts listing them. You get pop up from them. That's great. It's classy. Okay. So you can do your state of California, how they're doing. You can see how Elk Grove did. You can put ours in. You can go all the way through over 1,000 pages of this. But so you can search by school or district. You can come up here. And again, like the other one, it sort of lets you start building your data because you put in which district you'd like to see. And then you click which schools you'd like to see. And so this is the one that gets you that sort of plus minus report. So it's a nice kind of thing that you can create like a one-pager out of. That's it.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you. I love the clarity and I like the individual data that you're providing for us.
Thank you so much. And as I said, I really appreciate the resources earlier. So I dug to my heart's content and, figured out what I wanted to know.
Yeah, awesome.
That was an information item, so.
I wasn't sure.
I was.
I
I love data. I'm one of those people that's like, ooh, more charts.
What was that? That one?
What you need to do that.
Deeper than that. Deeper than that.
Okay, so we're moving on to 10.1, approve board resolution number 19.11.10, recognizing the importance of the 2020 census.
This is just response to our last meeting. We had a gentleman come in and presented some information on the fact that we're relying on that as well for our the move that we're going to make to from at-large district to the trustee zone. So it's just it's a board resolution recognizing the 2020 census and how important that is for us.
And I would just ask for Melissa and Tim and everybody else as 2020 starts, if we can incorporate this information out to LPAC meetings, school site council, cafecitos, just letting people know we need people to come forward, we need people to be counted in order to get the resources that our district deserves to have.
Madam President, I would love to see all the district form a pack, and we provide a common distribution of information to the students and to the families and the rest of the community members. So maybe I'd like to entertain that with him and see if we can get you guys reach on that.
I know North Side just this last week was doing a community meeting for people really in regards to, especially in regards to immigration rates and law enforcement and what's going on, but just, making that kind of thing with the census in terms of talking to people, like, basically not be afraid of things, being food. Any other questions?
So just thank you for putting on the.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Okay, 10.2, approve an MOU for cost sharing for boundary transfer.
10.2 and 10.4 are related. 10.2 is it's an MOU that was created by Lozano Smith for the 3 districts that are involved, which is Sims High School District, Alisal School District, and the Santa Rita School District, to share the cost in all of the different functions and different things we have to do associated with this boundary transfer that we're looking at doing. A small boundary transfer on the other side of Natividad that is currently in the Santa Rita Union School District's boundaries for attendance, that we transferred to them for 2 reasons. Number one, for safety issues, so we don't have students that when this new development in West Area plan is built, that we have to worry about them crossing a major thoroughfare. And then the other thing is in the central plan, Alisal is concerned they're not going to have enough student generation to fund one of the schools that they would have. So it's going to benefit both districts. We're going to be overcrowded. They're going to be undercrowded. Plus, we would have the issue of students navigating and crossing a major thoroughfare because the school might be right across the street and they'd have to go. So we're just, that's the whole purpose of this boundary transfer. It's about 300 homes, I think is what it is, a generation rate of about 200 students. So this is a cost sharing memo or a memorandum of understanding for the 3 major districts for that whole process.
Yeah, just to clarify for the audience, there's nothing built on it right now. This is just
It's
transferring
farmland.
land before anything is built there. Any questions or comments?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank Alisal Union School Board as well as Union School Board for their cooperation in this transfer of attendance area. I know other districts, it's been in the news where they're going on litigation, and I'm glad to see at least the districts in Salinas City can work together and accomplish things without having to go that route. So please extend a great thank you to both the students.
Can I have a motion?
Motion approved 10.2.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I second it.
I'll second. I'm so sorry. That's my fault. I apologize. I'm gonna start again. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved 10.2.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Now, all those in favor?
Aye,
I apologize. Thank you.
Matt's so happy, he's like, oh, finally.
Oh, I was gonna say, why don't you handle everything else? And then money for that. You did?
There's like two things after. Okay. 10.3, information on housing opportunities for Monterey Bay Economic Development by Matt.
All right, you had your chance. Good evening, everybody. Matt Ware, I'm the housing program manager with the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. And he's queuing up the, thank you so much. You're very good. No, actually, it's, it was a PowerPoint that we sent over. Is it queued up? Somewhere in there.
You're moving there sometime soon?
So while she's queuing that up, so it's just, I lived here since 2005, and my wife's a school teacher at ALSAL. She runs the Abbott program there, amongst many other things. I've been doing affordable housing work for over 20 years, and so I've seen a lot. Went to UC Davis and got my bachelor's in community and regional development there, and I've really just been doing all kinds of affordable housing development and policy work since. I serve on 2 boards. One is the Nonprofit Housing Association based out of San Francisco, representing 9 Bay Area counties. And I also serve on the California Coalition for Rural Housing, which represents rural development, particularly around farm worker housing. And so obviously you can see kind of the crisscross and urban, suburban, rural kind of background that I have. And so for about 20 hours a week, I serve as the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership's Housing Initiative Program Manager. And so we've been successful over the last couple of years in growing this initiative. MBEP is only about 3 or 4 years old. Raise your hand if you've heard of Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. Okay, yay! I don't have to start from ground zero, but there's a number of initiatives that MBEP moves forward. It's basically a business association, a coalition of businesses that came together over the last 3 or 4 years to try to tackle the region's toughest issues around transportation, workforce development, and housing. So I'm not going to go into detail on the other initiatives, but in terms of, I can do it. Thank you. And before I move any further, Rafael Hernandez is my trusty sidekick. So if I slip and fall above my head, it's the Rafael show. I get to give him a sidekick. That happens more often than you know. So here's some of the folks that are associated. So it's a really good cross-section of the largest employers, both public and private and nonprofits across the 3 counties that we serve here, Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Diego counties. And I mentioned our strategies. We also are very data-driven, I like that. We convene local leaders to drive progress on critical issues. And go up to our website for it's a good data source for many things. In terms of our housing initiative, there's really 3 ways of understanding what we're trying to do. We're trying to be supportive of large policies or projects that are really going to move us forward as a region in terms of supply. We really need thousands and thousands of housing starts here to address and across very different income levels to address our housing needs. It's not happening, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. We have created a Monterey Bay Housing Trust Fund that provides over $12 billion of bridge financing to help nonprofits get projects off the ground. We also do employer-sponsored housing, which is really kind of what I'm doing right now, is we reach out to major employers such as school district, where you are also grappling with how do you retain and attract your workforce, right? Whether that's teachers or folks in facilities, technical facilities management, you name it, we all need to attract and retain the talent. So everyone's struggling with that. We've had over 22 successful campaigns, basically getting behind and endorsing particular projects or policies. These are just a few of areas where we've engaged across the region. In some cases, we reach out, but most of the time we're requested for our endorsement. And it comes with our support through media, social media. I'll show up, we'll get other folks to show up. We work with nonprofit leaders, residents, business leaders to help everyone who's interested in supporting not only affordable housing, but workforce housing, and even in some cases, market rate housing, get behind these major developments so we can move forward. Some recent examples you saw there. One that I'll point out quickly was in Monterey recently, a few months ago, was Garden Road rezone, where about 1.5 years ago when the first issue came up, they said, "This will never happen, Matt, go away." I love them. Raise your hand if you love when someone tells you that, right? Okay. Right? Wait, there must be something here then, right? So let's work to see what that looks like, and long story short, we moved forward with that rezone, helped the city and all the other various parties help cut a deal to make sure that the safety issues were addressed, but also that it activated potentially over 400 units, mostly rentals, that would go there near this job center, really. There's over 2,500 jobs that are associated with the airport and down in the 68 corridor close to Monterey, which is a major job center, just to illustrate stuff that we do. And that was a close vote, and so it's a matter of trying to find ways to collaborate and land on things that we can agree on. Again, some 4 loans that have been done by the Housing Trust Fund, employer-sponsored housing, you'll see here various groups that we work on. If you have questions about farmworker housing and the farmworker housing study that Salinas championed and that was done between Salinas Valley and Pajaro Valleys, we are actually raised money from the Community Foundation of Monterey County, and the Monterey Peninsula Foundation funds us, and mostly full-time right here muscle, to help make sure that that action plan doesn't just sit on the shelf, and that we actually move forward with over 50 recommendations that involves actually changing policy. And so we're working with Salinas and Monterey County in various jurisdictions, Watsonville and so forth, to try to make sure that that happens. And so in other cases, I'll use the Monterey Peninsula Unified High School District, reached out to them both, and they reached out to us about 2 or more years ago when they started becoming very serious about how to engage in this housing discussion. It's very difficult for most major employers to do it because you're in the business of education. Ag employers are in the business of growing our food, and they, unfortunately, just like you, have to think about housing and how do we maintain housing opportunities for our workforce and for the families that we're all trying to improve our opportunities. So on the peninsula, they have decreasing enrollment, as you may know. So they have this issue where they have facilities that they need to evaluate and see which of those facilities make sense to potentially convert to or utilize some of that space for housing. So we help them look at some of those opportunities. We connected them to other resources. I went with PK Diffenbaugh to a training in San Mateo County. We exchanged notes and built relationships with several other folks. Over the last year, they went forward and actually did an RFQ process to select developers. They've also figured out ways to learn from the Bay Area, other districts that have gone forward with their own polling. There's a whole process to that. There's as you know, right? You've raised bonds before. There's a process, but it's a little different when you're talking about housing because there's different questions you ask. There's questions that you don't want to ask. There's messaging. There's a whole rollout of that process that's different than when you're doing the standard school facilities that you're used to. So those are the kind of things that we can help with if and when you get to that point. I like to include slides here that just kind of center the discussion and give us a common background for engaging in housing. To me, it's important that we not only talk about housing in terms of the sticks and bricks and the spaces that we call home, but it's all the other things that make home what we know it to be. And it's besides elections, it's where you live that determines where you may practice and go to church, your access to parks, education. We just talked earlier about trying to make sure that you're having your events, right, circulated at various schools because you know that access between home and those events are very interrelated. So same thing with shopping and medical and transportation. So we can see that when home establishes the hub for which we interact with all these other things. So we got to try to get that right, and we have to try to make sure it's equitable, and we have to make sure that it's a good and certain, and that it meets as many of our needs as possible. In terms of understanding our housing situation, the 3 things are affordability, adequacy, and availability. I won't go into great detail on this. Just this helps to illustrate that MBEP serves as a resource to you as a major employer if you wanted to go out into the community and help break some of this down for residents and other folks. This is the kind of discussion that we would have, and this is the kind of discussion that I've had all over the region to try to build up. We can't just expect, hey, come over to and support this project. Well, what are you trying to do, and whose interest is this, and what is this really about? How does it meet our needs? So understanding these 3 A's are really important. The quick thing on affordable housing is what's affordable, right? A developer will say, well, I'm building this, it's going to be $1 million home, and this other person can afford it, so it's affordable to them. And someone else says, oh, it's affordable by design if it's if it's, you know, smaller, then it's automatically gonna go to somebody who can afford a smaller home. Well, it's not that easy all the time. The long and short end of it is that if you're paying 30% of your gross income toward housing costs, then that's affordable. If you're paying more than that, then that starts to dip into other costs around education, transportation stuff, your health care, all the other things that define our quality of life. So most people here in the Salinas Valley, and in fact, the Bay Area for sure, are paying well over 50%. Actually, there's a housing cost burden that's unparalleled across most other sectors across the country. And in order to understand, like, give you a sense of even quality, when someone says, okay, well, there's a cheap spot housing or there's other developments, how much that's not for me, how much do I need to earn to make there? There's very specific thresholds, and in policy discussions at the city, when everyone kind of talks over your head or whatever, there's very specific levels that we talk about that are baked into these policies that are very important to understand when we get to that. So it's a matter of saying, okay, what percentage or how many units is in this development are going to be affordable to low-income residents? Well, low income is defined as 80% or below of the area median income. And so just to illustrate here, for a family of 4, that's $66,800. Seems like maybe a lot of money, but that's maybe one full-time equivalent plus someone working part-time or something, and maybe that's just one person, right, working. And is that enough to have a family of 4 and afford to everything you need to live around here? Probably not, or maybe barely cut it. And the lion's share of our residents earn much less than that. So not to go into it too much, but the home value here, this just illustrates that we really are unique across the country, where a vast majority of folks can actually afford the median home price in where they live. And in our case, it's less than 15%. Less than 15% of everybody out here can afford the median home price, which is over $500,000. And in terms of rent, most folks, again, are rent burdened. And if you look at the trend lines and everything, you see Salinas kind of in the middle, but the low line is US, and the high line is Monterey City. So obviously the peninsula, we all know that folks out there are paying a lot more. And in fact, that's why people live here and they work over there, right? About 80% of folks on the peninsula commute in. That's a discussion for another day, but on the housing adequacy side, sometimes you have an affordable, and this is what we experience a lot in Salinas. Oh, it's okay, I can afford it to live here. Yeah, but your water doesn't work half the time, the roof's leaking, and you have a mold problem. That's inadequate, right? So we have a lot of inadequate housing that needs to be addressed. And so those are 3 different ways of understanding the housing situation: affordability, adequacy, and then the last piece is availability. And availability, we also have a challenge here. Who's had to try to find a new rental, right, or even a home to purchase? There's very little out on the inventory. We have, housing professionals on your board, I know, that understand that really well. And so that drives up costs further, and it makes it more challenging for folks to move around. And then that also explains why people are sometimes taken advantage of, and a lot more the chance to be taken advantage of those situations. The number here that's important in regional housing needs, the state basically gives the local council of governments a number every 7 years. This process is going to start over next year, so there's going to be a big, huge political battle next year about how that's going to roll out. But a few years ago, the number was 12,600 between all 3 counties. And we're basically way behind the curve in achieving that. We're around 30 or 40% of achieving that. And it's the RHNA goals doesn't necessarily, it's about permitting units, okay? And that's what jurisdictions say, okay, well, the city's not building enough. The city's not a developer or a contractor, but they have the police powers around zoning. And so they are the ones that decide, right, where you can build and how high, and some of the timeline and so many other factors. So the state is saying for a long time, the local governments haven't done enough to make it easier for developers of whether it's affordable or market rate to build more housing. And that's really the crux of the problem. So you see the percentages toward achieving our RHNA goals are way lower than where we need to be, and that helps explain all these other factors, right, that we just talked about: affordability, adequacy, and availability. So in terms of ideas for collaboration, you can just throw your hands up and be like, okay, Matt, what the heck? You know? But raise your hand for a problem solver. Let's keep working together. Yay. Problem solvers unite. So it starts with the sites, right? And that goes back to this West Area Specific Plan. We'll also talk a little bit about that since you guys are major players in that. But as a developer, I look at, okay, well, where are the opportunity sites? And what do those opportunity sites look like? So in terms of meeting goals outside of just housing folks, you want to have families especially live close enough so they can walk to the park, so that they don't have to get in the car every time they need to go to the grocery store. So that there's other services that are accessible, right? And there's also mandates coming down from the state and even feds before our current president was there, but we have lots of goals around climate change that are going to be on the horizon, all responding to those issues. So sourcing sites is really key. Most of the city of Salinas is built out, and there's very few sites left to really develop housing. So that's where the West Area Specific Plan comes in, right? There's still also other opportunities. Sometimes there's school districts. I don't think that you guys are in that situation where you have land, but maybe there's other opportunities. There's churches, there's hospitals. Sometimes labor groups have them. Growers have been active. You've heard of Tandem Dental and Foxy Produce, or the Nunez family created over between the two of them over 1,400 beds to house their employees, and there's some other projects in the process as well. So you can see that everybody potentially has an opportunity to contribute. This is just a quick list of some policies aimed at increasing supply that where possible. Some of you have probably been active in supporting some of these, but whether it's inclusionary housing or higher density near transit, downtowns or corridors, things like that that are really going to help housing move forward, because you not just need the land, but you also need subsidy to go along with underwriting the price of entry for those rentals or even homes, right, for purchase. So it's not enough just to identify sites. You also need these other components to make housing happen. So the quick thing on the Salinas Future Growth Area is that it's been in the works for a long time, and we have somebody here in the audience that knows all about it. She could definitely give this presentation and then some. But I was on the Planning Commission for a number of years as well, and it was approved back in 2006-07 timeframe, and has been it went through, we all know about the recession, and things got put on ice for a long time. And then things bounced back the last few years, so the developers got back in line to try to see if they could move forward. And we might be hitting that spike again. But the fact is that they have moved forward considerably with their environmental impact report and studies and their plans, and have freshened those documents up. And they intend to move forward with approval to the Planning Commission as early as a few weeks. I think it's scheduled for December 4th to go to the Planning Commission. So many of you have probably participated in community meetings and understand the background and the implications for it. There's this first West Area Specific Plan is the first one to go forward, but someone mentioned the Central Plan. There's also even the East Plan further down the line are also in discussions and planning processes. But this West Area Specific Plan we focused on most recently because it's going to set the stage for the other ones. So it's key. And there's a specific plan overview where there's over 4,340 dwelling units. You see that there is some mixed use, 5 schools. I think 2 or 3 of them were in your district. So things that I know you guys have been discussing with the developers and the city to try to hammer out, making sure that everyone's best interests are met. When it comes down to MBEP, the city had not, nor the developers have really reached out to us for an endorsement. Because this project is so big, it's something that we've been tracking because it has a lot of implications for the region. And so we've been very trying to be proactive about providing comments and baking in some of our recommendations. We have a white paper that has 9 recommendations about how realistically we can bake some of those policies into increasing more affordable product, and even having market rate developers such as this include some more housing that would be more affordable for our residents. And so I think that they have been the city has been good about including some of that. But one thing to remember is that the planning process for this started so long ago in the early 2000s that it's using antiquated kind of ways of developing. One of the things is they kind of go to the lowest bar. Okay, instead of figuring out ways of how can we increase the amount of homes and density and heights and try to utilize our land more, there's how many low density housing, how many 2,500, 3,000 square foot homes can I fit on here? Is kind of where a lot of the developers are going. And we get that. It's a money play as well. It's an opportunity for folks to try to create value out of this opportunity. But at the end of the day, we all are trying to make this work, right? Not only dollars and cents, but for the community. And we know that it's going to take 30, 40 year build out, but the decisions are being made now. And so what should that look like? And again, we think that wherever possible, densities should be allowed to go up higher, especially where there's commercial and walkable spaces. And they have been incorporating a lot of those kinds of tools into their plans already. So we'll see how that goes. Where it's at right now, again, they have completed a couple of public meetings, and the EIR was out already. It came back, and they've been basically touching up, incorporating their comments that they got from the draft EIR so that they can publish a final EIR and get that approved again to the Planning Commission first, tentatively scheduled for December 4th. And then my sense is that they want to actually get it done going to council by the end of the year, because they're motivated to probably get ahead of and have that approved before new policies may have it go back, and that could upset their timeline, and they might have to go back to the drawing board. So I don't know all the particulars. There's folks much smarter than I that are tracking all those state policies, but that's probably part of the discussion that you all should have with the city and the developers. That's something that I'll continue to ask about as well. These were some of the issues that were raised in April that may continue to be raised. I know some of you brought some of these issues up. You see both of those roles there, and some of the facilities requirements that are question marks. There's school facility issues that were also raised that are key to the development. So I don't know how well all these things are being done. From our perspective, one of the things that we're tracking is how does this play with the inclusionary housing ordinance that the city does have now. Some people think that we can strengthen those inclusionary housing ordinances going forward, and maybe the developers should use the policies that are in effect later, or should the current policy be baked in now, and then 15 years from now, they would, be subject to the current housing policy. So it really, there's these kind of unsettled big questions that there may or may not, there probably is enough time to settle this by the end of the year, but we're on, as you can see, there's only a few weeks left, and I don't know how quickly they can answer some of those questions. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to kind of present that information, let you know that we're a resource, give you a sense of what we do, and if you have any questions, I'm here. And Rafael is too. I know it's a lot of information you want.
Questions?
Were there any, you can even start off with, if there were any technical, sometimes you hear different initials, different acronyms, and so if anything like that you have a little doubt, you can start there.
Still processing that.
Okay.
Matt, first of all, I want to say thank you for your dedication. I mean, you have really worked hard for the city in terms of making sure that the various housing needs are being met, and you're a big fighter towards that. So I really appreciate what you do. As far as working with Emmett, for us, it's obviously anything that we can provide to our staff, including housing and something that can be financially feasible. I would love for maybe our district to entertain and discuss, I know PK over in Monterey, he's doing a phenomenal job there, and they have some resources there, some sites, but I would love to maybe even work with other districts in the city of Salinas and maybe have a consortium of some type to provide housing for the teachers and staff in our community. So I don't think individually we could do some major project, but I would love to entertain the idea of working with other districts in Salinas. And I think with our combined power, we could really make a significant project
come to fruition.
That's a great idea to take back to folks who, make, scarcity, is something that is endemic to the whole region. But to your point, there's appetite to try to move forward, and there are ways that folks can work together. So I like the idea that.
I mean, honestly, I come from a business perspective, and the idea in this current financial climate of, getting aside, getting some subsidies in terms of development, acquiring the land, if you will. I think the income generated will be more than enough to carry the projects forward, I think that initial idea of acquiring of the site, the finances in terms of build-up, and then the ongoing income stream that will come to help pay for the long-term debt, I think it's all doable. I think there's financial incentive out there, and I think it always boils down to the numbers and the finances, so, but it can be done. So I'd love to see us maybe look into that in the future,
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, no, I mean, as a board, it's something that we're really interested in. I mean, teacher and employee retention is a huge problem for everybody in Monterey County, just because people can't afford to live here, but we have students that still need to be educated, so I'd love to be able to partner with anybody else to, move forward on any projects that can, try to help us to help our employees.
Absolutely, yeah, and we look for successful models like in the Bay Area and others where they have like teacher housing programs, down payment assistance programs. Apple just announced $2.5 billion, support to the state and to the Bay Area to deal with their impact. So I think that housing is the number 1, 2, and 3 issue almost everywhere I go, and so it's like the appetite for it is now, and I think that we could benefit from that energy right now for us. So thank you for reminding me about that. So, we're here.
Appreciate it.
This is a unique time where across the board, everyone puts housing as a top priority. This is a time to really take advantage of all opportunities. If we can't get it done right now, given the need, it could last for a while, but that's something that we have to be clear. Everyone's having these discussions in different places. Are they having them in the right way? Is the money from Apple, are they going to focus it on just their employees, or how are they thinking of doing it? This is a time to engage the conversation because like Matt said, it's top 3 priorities. It's like first rule of Fight Club, second rule of Fight Club, First rule is housing, next one housing. What's rule number 3? Remember, look at 1 and 2.
So what's the next step in case we did want to?
We could work with the superintendent to come up with some more specific proposals and ideas about what the district could do as an example. This consortium idea, facilitating a meeting maybe with other superintendents as an example, and seeing where there's opportunities to activate either sites or money or both toward housing is an idea. We do that kind of thing with ag companies. There's a lot of interest there. Part of the issue there is that there's as much as there's want to collaborate, they are competing, and there's employees, so they only want to house their employees. Where it might be a little different here, whereas if we take pressure off of any kind of some of the residents and families here, then it relieves pressure over there, right? It's one kind of contiguous continuum of housing system.
One of the issues I see is we have a lot of young teachers, and at that income level that they're starting at, it's difficult to also pay rent and save enough and purchase your first home and condo. So, to me, it can be an issue of, providing a condominium or apartment complex, at least for 4 or 5 years initially with subsidized rent of some type, so they can earn that money and save it, and then eventually go on and move on to their first purchase of a home, and then create additional space for incoming teachers, so something that we can provide that bridge would also be a good consideration.
Absolutely, yeah. So, welcome to the housing business. Look forward to working with you some more. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I just want to say, Rafa, I really appreciated your strong background there. He was Thursday, he was ready, waiting.
I was ready to, I almost did fall down. Very few noticed, thank you.
You were ready, I saw it.
Continuing the theme of the evening, 10.4, approve board resolution number 19.11.11 regarding the transfer attendance area to the Alice School District.
This is a resolution that's prepared by Lozano Smith for, the transfer that I spoke about earlier. This is a small attendance area on the other side of the Trinidad that will be transferring over to Alice South.
Any questions or concerns? Can I have a motion?
Motion approved, 10.4.
All those in favor?
Yeah, Captain.
Passes 4-0. And I remember to wait this time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now at 12.0, so, future items that we wanted agendized, I know Mr. Patel, you mentioned something. Adding junior achievement.
Yeah, honestly, I think the opportunities we're providing our students, and adding something additional. I love the Alice, presentation, Girls Inc. Presentation today. I thought it was phenomenal. And anything we can do to provide additional opportunities. So yes, thank you for possibly including that.
Just to put in my 2 cents, I've done their 2nd grade curriculum every year for 4 years, I think. It's really well done. Like, it's very hands-on, the kids love it. It makes learning about taxes fun, but it does, they get careers, they get jobs, they have to pay taxes, they get paid and play money that they then have to give back for goods and services, which they're really excited about getting paid. They are not excited about giving back their money and, taxes and having to buy things. So it's really fun, and it does things like, they go through this thing where, they're having a competition, they're all set up as different factories, and then they realize that they don't get to sell anything that's imperfect that comes out of the factory, so you want it to be done really fast and like at the highest production level, and then you realize that somebody's there and, kicking back all of these like imperfectly made things, so they love the competitive aspect. There's all kinds of like fun, manipulative things they get to do, so they have a good time with it. Any other things to come on the?
Not so much on the agenda, but it was pointed out to me, I guess, the last board meeting, that we did get a lot of Spanish-speaking parents who don't speak any English. So a lot of times, I guess, one parent didn't know that they could leave. Because they asked their daughter, what's happening or what's,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so maybe I don't know if there's a way that it kind of identify, and you kind of see sometimes is maybe when you're repeating it, my Spanish is okay, but maybe it might be good to get a translator that knows.
Bring those in.
Huh?
We have the
Headsets.
headsets, we just need to bring them in.
And I think making sure to make an announcement in both languages before we get started. So that people know
I can help out a little bit, but
to ask.
sometimes I forget, and if we have a designated person that knows, okay.
I know we addressed it. So I know all the sites have them, they have sets. Yeah, we have them here too, so we'll make sure that we start getting those in here. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you so much. So we're gonna adjourn at 8:06. Thank you everybody for being here. See you today.